So we're going to talk about that. So you mentioned this was your first Ignite class. Who else is brand new to Ignite? Second. Okay. So we're going to cover the negotiation stuff because we have some more experienced agents in the room. And then let's take some time to talk about what specific actions you can be taking, because that's something I really wish had been done more clearly with me when I was learning. And so for those of you who don't know what you should be doing to get those first leads, we will talk specifically about that today, even if we need to stay a little after class. Is that fair? Okay, because I definitely don't want you to leave class and go, well, what do I do? Because learning about negotiation, this is a more high-level task. Obviously, you don't need these skills until you are negotiating a contract. That said, because we have people in the class who are getting there, like we're working with a client. Do you have clients yet? Oh, no, you're doing amazing then. Okay, then hold on. Then let me say this to your anxiety. Chill. If you have, I understand. So we'll talk about it. We'll talk about your client. If we need to talk after class, but if you have a client, you're doing great. We'll talk about that more. I want to put just the right amount of kernel of fear and then overall have you psyched about doing real estate. So we'll do whatever we need to do to get you into that position. We'll keep putting stuff on different sides of the scale. Okay, so go ahead and add my number to your phone. And if you want me to text you back, text me your name and just put like KW or Ignite or something. And then I'll save you in my phone. Perfect. Also, tell me your name. Erica. With a K or a C? Nice. Okay. Okay. So now we're going to jump into negotiation crap. There's two high-level concepts I want you to understand. First is who sets the price of a house? No, I want to change that. Who decides what a house sells for? How much a house sells for? The buyer? Uh-huh. Yeah, willing, ready, and able? Yeah. So this is not your first Ignite class. Boom, the appraiser's the secret one. So, and I actually don't know the real statistics. Oh, appraiser. I don't know the real statistic, but I would estimate at least 90% of deals are done with an appraiser because they're done with a loan. And so you have this spectrum, right? So if this is $0 and this is infinity, that's not a real number, but hear me out. That's infinity dollars. What's the most expensive sale in Utah was $32 million. So you're usually not getting 3% when you're doing those really high key ones, but you can set your price however you want, but you're gonna. I actually don't know what the commission on that one was. I believe they were offering the buyer agent 3, which is bonkers. In luxury, a lot of agents are advertising that they'll do lower commissions though. It'll come down to like, for the seller side, it'll be like 1 or 2% if you get north of $1 million. And so that's your competition. You can set your price at whatever the heck you want. You can charge 7%, but you'll probably struggle to pick up luxury clients. Okay, so the buyer is probably happy to receive the house for $0, and they're going to go up here to some arbitrary amount, and that's the maximum amount the buyer can pay for the house, right? Now, what a buyer says their maximum is and what their actual capable maximum is usually a different number. So you'll go to your buyers and they'll say, we qualified for 450 and we only want to pay 415. That's very common. If the house goes for 415 and $1, they're still going to buy it. Like there is some wiggle room there, but that's, for argument's sake, we're just saying the buyer has a hard maximum. And then the seller has, they would of course accept $32 million for their $500,000 house. But they are willing to come down to some point and hopefully there's space in here. If not, then you're just not going to make a deal. And then the appraiser has this little circle of area that they're willing to approve the house in. The appraiser does theoretically set a specific price for the house, but the contract price does influence the appraiser pretty heavily. That's easily observable. Everyone's okay with this concept, right? So my first question is, let's assume for argument's sake that we're the buyer agent. How do you win the negotiation? Yeah, from the buyer standpoint. Yeah, I think that's perfectly good logic. Yeah. And so the mathematical perfect outcome is the buyer's agent gets this. And then the corollary of that is for the seller's agent, the mathematically perfect negotiation outcome is this. You get the maximum amount of money extracted from the buyer that you can. That is logically true, but what I would like to submit is that people are not logical creatures, and neither are your buyer or seller. I contend that anywhere in here is a win. So if you can get the price down for your buyer, of course you want to. But if they're happy with that price and the seller's happy with the price, you have won. That was a good negotiation. I've done deals across from agents. Keller Williams does not teach this doctrine, but the mic keeps cutting out. So I've done deals across from agents where they'll call me and they advertise themselves as bulldogs, and they're like, oh, and they like try and punch you on every single thing in the deal. And I love doing deals with these agents, which is say they're very unpleasant to talk to, but they're so easy to take advantage of, because they're not actually interested in interests or closing the deal for their buyer. They want to look like a bulldog. And so what you do is you just give them a ridiculous like, well, you're demanding 5,000. Of course, that's a non-starter. I guess my buyer could do 100, and your buyer's like psyched about that. And they're like, yeah, I killed you. Yeah. So I love bulldogs. They're very easy to destroy in negotiations. You just make them think they're winning while they're losing. Sorry, that was quite a tip. Also, don't be that agent. It makes you unpopular, and you're not representing your client's interest the way you think you are. Okay, I said there were 2 high-level concepts I want to represent. That was a trick question. There's 3. The other one's very simple. Negotiations happen. No, you know what? Forget I said that. We're going to do that in a second. Instead, the other thing, and if you leave with one thing today, it's who's military-ish? Anyone here military? Yeah. I don't know why I called on you. I asked for like, who's military, and you raised your hand. I'm like, yes. So there's a concept in military, in like war, of air superiority, which is to say, if you want to control an area, if you control the air, you have a lot more mobility for your troops. You can get people and supplies around more safely. Can you tell I'm a military history buff? I am not. I play a lot of video games. And so in war, air superiority is often, I'm sorry, whoever's watching this on YouTube, you know better than I do, is very important. Superiority, I shouldn't try and talk and write. In a negotiation, informational superiority is the trump card. The party who has the better and more information wins. And we're going to come back to this concept. There's one other concept I want to drill in, and then we're going to get into specifics. Anyone gone to business school? Sick. Do you know what a BATNA is? All right, I'm going to help you with your upcoming quiz. It is the best alternative to a negotiated agreement. This is part of informational superiority, but it's a very important part that I gave it its own section. So if this deal falls apart and I represent the buyer, do I know what the buyer does next? Like, do we have other homes we're looking at? Is the buyer screwed because they're about to lose their lease? Like, I need to know if this deal falls apart, then what happens? And then the way that you become a super buyer's agent, and all of this, the flip side is true of listing agents. If the seller doesn't sell on this deal, what do they do next? Like, are they, do they have to sell the house right now because they need the equity, or can they wait for 4 months? Like those are two very different sellers. And so you need to know, you definitely need to know your own BATNA. And as much as you can, you need to find out the other side's BATNA. Yeah. Sorry, best, good writing. Alternative to, I could have written the letter O, negotiated agreement. Let's go. That's real. I wasn't faking that. Tell me your name, and then I want to hear your comment. Hi, Connor.
So having a bad is what gives you the ability to walk away from a bad.
Everyone has a BATNA. Knowing your BATNA is what helps you decide if you should walk away. And it helps you decide who has more strength in the negotiation, which is actually a very nebulous idea, but we'll get into that. And so, like, both parties have a BATNA. Your BATNA might be, my wife leaves me, I go bankrupt and get set on fire. Like, if that's your BATNA, you have a very low negotiating power, and you probably don't want the other side to know that. But if your BATNA is, if we don't sell the house, I keep it, I turn it into a rental, whatever. That tends to be a very strong BATNA, and you know that, okay, going into some negotiation, I don't need to put up with crap. Does that make sense? Okay. Yeah. Oh, I thought that, sorry, okay. I'm not very good at anything. Okay, excuse me.
Talk a little more about that.
Yes, our whole class is pretty much about that. So I want to talk about the different negotiations you have in the course of your duties as a realtor. What parties do you most commonly have negotiations with? Let's do this. This is going to be the buyer agent. This is going to be the listing agent. I'm guessing you're all planning to be both? Okay, cool. Yeah. So the buyer's agent, you have a negotiation with your own buyers. There's one thing that they actually, this is one reason I don't like the Ignite manual for this is, and yeah, we'll keep the mic on, there's a lot of focus on, this is how to negotiate your buyer into doing something they don't want to do. That's not fair. The Ignite manual isn't that bad about it, but it Wing said that. We had a seminar here at Westfield like 2 years ago where they're like, hey, we're going to talk about negotiation. And if the three panelists all talked about how to negotiate their clients into doing things that they didn't want to do. And I was so mad. The only time you're negotiating with your buyer is when you are trying to get them to hire you. After that, you work for them. Come on. But negotiating with your buyer is absolutely important. And time permitting, we'll talk about that a bit. But then who else? What's the obvious one? Yeah, the other agent. So listing agents that are going to negotiate to get sellers to hire them. But this is the big one, is when you've been hired, how are you going to be the greatest service to your client is if you're a good negotiator. To help you with that, I have some insults you can say to the other party. So let's get started. I've got like 20 of these. We'll just do them if the class gets too boring. Give me 1 second. These are submitted by my friends. So when you call them up, hold on, here we go. Do you have to bring in the roaches or do they just follow you naturally? Okay, that was our first one. So remember that. That's important for negotiating. Okay, there are kind of other negotiation parties, but these are honestly the three big ones, is get someone to hire you and then do a good job for them once they do hire you. Let's focus on the other side. How familiar are you all with the real estate purchase contract, the REPC? Okay, this is what scared me a little bit because I know we've got some fairly new people, but let's talk about that because knowing the contents of that is enormously important. Ooh.
Talked about a little bit last class.
Perfect. Okay. Yeah, so you should be extremely familiar with the REPC when you're doing negotiations. There's another thing that is beyond the scope of this class, but is a topic I'm very passionate about, is market conditions. Humor me. I don't expect you've talked about this in Ignite yet, but do any of you know like how to check market conditions, how to research the market? Okay. It is through the MLS. Yeah. Yeah.
I remember about that too.
Yeah.
The count, looking up the county stuff, and, right?
Yeah. Exactly. Oh, yeah. That's exactly right. Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. That's exactly what I'm talking about. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So this is what Connor was saying. That is exactly the correct answer. This expands beyond the scope of this class, but you must know how to do this to be a good value to your clients. And so it's something I'm happy to teach you. I'm going on vacation tomorrow for the rest of the week, but hit me up next week and I'll happily talk with you how to do this. It's not that hard, but it takes a little bit to explain, and that's not what we're talking about today. And then what else is information that we need to have for the negotiation? Yeah. So this is where we learn, among other things, the other side's bad, if you can. And so the best way to do that is honestly just to ask the other agent, like, so tell me why your seller is selling. Tell me why your buyer is buying. And most of the time they'll talk to you about it. It sort of seeds informational superiority. I can speak, I have words. But they're batting out, which is not quite the same as what Connor said, which is also true, is what's important. And so there is some stuff like sellers will frequently say, oh, we want to sell to a nice family. That is, of course, a violation of fair housing. You can't do anything with that. But there will often be like sellers who have negative responses to investors or that sort of thing. And then also fairly commonly is like, oh, they're just worried about the bottom line, or oh, they're worried about closing in quickly because they need to be in Nevada next week or whatever. So absolutely ask them, why is your seller selling? What's important to them? And then the corollary is, if you're the listing agent, ask the buyer agent, why is your buyer interested in this house? Why are they buying in general? And what is it about the house that they like? Like, try and dig into what the buyer's motivations are. The more you know about the other party, the more informational superiority you have. What can be negotiated on the rep? Oh, yeah. Yeah, so this is where it gets kind of interesting. There are different negotiation styles that we're not really going to get into today because I'm doing sort of a beginner-friendly one. You don't want to volunteer information, and definitely material information about your buyer or seller, you must not volunteer without their permission. So for example, if they're like, hey, how far down would your seller come? Just don't answer that. Be like, they know they shouldn't have asked that question, which is say, go ahead and ask that question. I mean, if they answer, great, but you're not supposed to answer that question. So like material things about them, you don't want to answer those questions as much. But if it's like, why are they buying? Why are they selling? Honestly, it probably serves you just to keep a good rapport with the other agent. Just answer. I wouldn't communicate desperation. And so if you know that, what's today? Oh, it's Valentine's Day. So if you know that their lease is up and March 1, they're on the street, I wouldn't say that. I would just say, oh, they need to move pretty soon. They're interested in owning, they're done with their lease soon. But yeah, don't communicate desperation unless you feel like you must, or you're doing some kind of sneaky tactic, I guess. That was the camera. Hi, camera. Any other questions on that?
I think that's probably the biggest fear that I have, is full informational thing.
Yeah.
Not giving too much information, at the same time giving information that I guess that's where we ask experts like yourself to get fine, like, hey, what should we do? Talk to them.
Yeah.
I mean, that's probably the biggest thing. The whole loyalty, confidentiality balance.
Yeah.
Especially if they're desperate, right? If there's desperation on either side, either sell a
Yeah.
home or buy a home, and you know that, you're their agent, it's like, okay, what can I say, what can I say?
Yeah.
It's a little scary.
I would treat their information like, you want this being known to the other side, if you didn't want this being known to the other side. But if it's not a big deal, and have that discussion, that, hey, what are you okay with?
That's exactly the right answer. So what I'll do when I have buyers who are in a situation like that is, so let's say their lease is up really soon. That's a very common one for buyers. What I'll say to them is, are you okay with me telling the seller that? And almost always what they'll say is, well, check with us first. Because the reason is when you're talking to the seller and you're trying to be the winning offer, which is becoming more of a thing again, if you say, look, my buyers are on the street on March 1st, they have to close on this house. That makes them extremely attractive buyers. But never say that without your buyer's permission. When in doubt, ask your client. Okay. I was so confused. Oh yeah, the REPSI. So yeah, we talked about that. No, let's cover it now actually. So there's different styles of negotiation. I want to introduce you to two, even though there's an arbitrarily large number of them. I went to a class by a guy called Zane. And I thought Zane was a very cool guy. And he talked about negotiating, and he was huge on being withholding with information. And so he talked about like negotiating on behalf of his brother to buy a car, and he made the dealer give a price first, that sort of thing. And so we're going to call this the confidentiality style. The strength of the Zane style is that if the other party will work with you, then you tend to maintain informational superiority because you're very withholding with the information. The downside is it makes you harder to work with, and so people are less likely to actually want to work with you. And in real estate, that is potentially quite difficult. And then the style I want you all to adopt is the style that Dean, our own principal broker, taught me, which is honest and friendly is what I would say the priorities are. So as we just discussed, you should never volunteer more information than you have to. But the point, Dean has a thing in his office, I don't know if he still has, I'm sure he does, which is, does play nice in the sandbox? I think that's what it says. Don't pee in the pool. The large reason is you're going to work with these realtors again. You're going to do other deals with them, and you do not want to be the realtor with like, you don't want to be that realtor. And then on top of that, if you're honest and cooperative, I had a deal where I was working with, I got a lender for my BNI, and oh my gosh, he was the worst. He was so bad. I didn't know that at the time. And so I brought him in. I told my clients like, hey, I'm testing out this guy for my BNI. Let's do it. So we got through the negotiations. The main phases of negotiation are when you're fighting about the price and when you're fighting about the inspection. And so we had a little back and forth on the price, and then the inspection came up, and the agent across from me, she was evidently a bit newer. And so we made some pretty heavy inspection demands. And when she came back, she's like, look, the sellers aren't really like willing to do this. I don't really want to do it. And she was kind of having a breakdown on the phone. Now, I wonder if she was playing me. I've thought about this, but she really felt like she was on the verge of tears. Whether that was real or she was using her own tactic, I'm not sure. It's actually kind of irrelevant. But I said to her, look, I want to be clear here. We're not saying do these things or we're going to walk away. The buyers want to buy the house. They want to move in. We're just saying these are things we're concerned about. So let's start from that talking point, not, hey, we're halfway out the door. She immediately calmed down, or pretended to calm down. I don't know. And we got several of the concessions we asked for and some of the ones we didn't want. I actually asked the buyers what they wanted. And I do this every time, like, what are deal breakers? What are like, we would really like this, and what are, this would be nice if we can get it tacked on. And I tend to, your instincts and your experience will teach you like ways to work with this list, but I tend to always, you ask for the deal breakers, obviously, and the important stuff. And then you feel out, should we ask for this, or is it going to look like we're trying to just nickel and dime them? And so we got everything that they said were deal breakers, everything that said were important, and we got like one of the nice to haves. And it was great. I was very happy with that. The seller agent was more relaxed, which was great because my lender sucked. And so then when when it was time to close, lender's like, oh, we can't close. It was awesome. And so I called her, and I'm so freaking glad that we had had an amicable relationship up to that point. Because if I had just barreled into her, like, no, give us all this, and we're out of here. Ugh, I'm from. Then when we weren't closed, she could have just said, you're in default, screw you. And frankly, I wouldn't have blamed her. That was awful. And so we had to extend like 2 different times. Our lender was trash, but she went with it because we'd had such a good working relationship at that point. A strong working relationship not only benefits you in the long run, it also benefits your client because it will make them want to work with you. If you start practicing in New York or California, I'm sure the culture is different. In Utah, everybody wants to be your friend, and that's a weakness and a massive strength. That was kind of a rant. We all good? We all following along? Okay, good.
Makes sense.
Okay. So, as you get more experienced with negotiation, I do want you to learn about other styles of negotiation because there are several, and there's a lot to learn from like the Zane style, and then there's like the get to yes, never split the difference. Like there are these different styles that are out there, and it's worthwhile to know about them, and then sort of form the Connor style, the Dave style. I have the Cavan style, which is obviously the best one. But you'll never learn it because I'm teaching a negotiation class. Okay, what are things you can negotiate in the REPC? The obvious one is price. Yep, time of close. By the way, this is not and cannot be an exhaustive list. I guess what I said the REPC, so this can be an exhaustive list. You can negotiate an endless number of things. There was a negotiation I read about on the, who Reddit? Who does Reddit? Am I the only one? Fair enough, I accept. Reddit is basically a massive, what's it called, bulletin board? You think of it as a chat room, close enough. And there's one for professional realtors, and you hear all the stories there, and it's super fun. So get on Reddit, hang out with me. That's a lie. If you don't Reddit, don't. It'll suck your life away. There was a negotiation where, oh, who's heard of Warhammer 40K? Heck yeah, Connor, that's my guy. It's a game where you push plastic soldiers around on a field. You roll dice to pretend they're shooting at each other. When he goes, I win. I love that game. It's amazing. So there was one where buyers were going through a house. They saw a 40K model, a painted little robot man with guns. And in their offer, they said, we also want the Space Marine Dreadnought. And the sellers obviously were also 40K fans. They had stuff in the house. They were so charmed by that that they prioritized those buyers. And so anything can be negotiated. As you get more experience, you'll become more creative. We're talking about the basics here. Okay, time of close is a huge one. I would argue these are the 2 biggest ones. But can you think of any others? There's quite a few others. Yep. Yell to the class what inclusions and exclusions are. Yeah. And so the short version, and this is explained in the reps and will be explained better in other classes, if it's bolted to the property, it comes with the property. Anything else needs to be negotiated. Regardless of whether you're negotiating them, you should be very clear with inclusions and exclusions. That's a topic for a different class. So that's a huge one. Furniture is often a great negotiating bargain chip. The appliances are a great bargaining chip. Occasionally a Space Marine Dreadnought will be a good bargaining chip. So excellent. What else can we think of? Okay, tell me what you mean. Yeah, so that is correct, that you'll have offers and counteroffers. That's sort of a procedural thing. One thing I recommend in negotiations, incidentally, you'll send an offer if you can get them to counter, but often what'll happen is the agent will call you because they're like, hey, will your buyer come up to this? Or if you're the listing agent, pretend that I'm reversing all the language on this. And you'll talk to your clients. They'll say, no, but we do this. Do that in phone calls if you can. It's really nice to get something in writing, but when you have 7 addenda, like 415, 413, 412 and 7 or whatever, and if that's what you have to do, do it. Get the house. But agents will generally like working with you if you'll do that over the phone with them, so you can just have one addendum. Okay. I'm going to start putting some unless you guys can think of others. You've listed the main ones. I want to be clear about that. You hit the important ones. There's some other ones that you might not have thought of. Ooh, yeah, home warranty. That's great. Does everyone know what a home? Actually, tell us what a home warranty is. Yell it. Yeah. So yeah. So you're talking about a listing home warranty. That's a service most warranty companies offer. That should be free. If a warranty company is saying like, hey, we'll cover your listing, a bunch of companies do that for free, never pay for it. The warranty when you're negotiating in the REPC is when the buyer moves into the house, generally for a period of 1 year, exactly what you described. It's if an appliance breaks down. Yeah, so when you put a listing on the market, do all of you have a home warranty company that you like? Okay, I'm a fan of Corey Zimmerman with Elevate. Yeah. Oh, that's right. He does have Tanner. So I'm a fan of him. There are a lot of fine companies out there. I'm not telling you where to go. Yeah. So home warranty company, be friendly with one and have them cover your listings for free. If they charge you, give them my number. I will talk to them. And then when you're negotiating the warranty, I'd expect it to cost between $500 and $600. It really depends on the house. And that will cover the buyer's appliances for a year. Yeah, that's especially nice. I used to be in the school of thought that if you have cash, you can self-insure. Like if you have 1% of the house that you can just hold in a cash reserve, then don't get a warranty. That's what I tell my clients. I've changed my mind on that. I've actually started just saying, just get the dang warranty. My wife and I have saved so much stupid money with our warranty. Cool. Home warranty was excellent. Yeah. Absolutely. So I'm going to put that in an umbrella thing of repairs. If it's already replaced, you're not really going to negotiate about that, but you should absolutely tell them that because a new roof is very valuable. So I'm going to put that in an umbrella term of repairs. This will generally come up during the inspection part of the negotiations. So you're probably already under contract, but we should talk about repairs. Yeah. Generally before. I could see a universe where it happens after. No, I really can't. It's before. Someone's going to bring us some deal. They're like Michaels versus Jones. They got the appraisal first. Of course, since you're citing a lawsuit, that kind of answers your question. So yes, inspections before appraisal. Okay. One that I suspect you know about, but didn't think of as a negotiation tool is earnest money. Can someone yell out what earnest money is to the class? Kind of, yeah. It's yes, exactly. So it shows that you're earnest about the transaction. So it's the buyer says, if we go into default, this earnest money, it's yours now. Raising the earnest money is a way to show your seriousness. However, the sneaky thing about earnest money is in the state of Utah, it is so darn easy to protect the buyer's earnest money. You've got 2 deadlines protecting them, and then you could theoretically negotiate another one. So there's some subcategories of earnest money. Deadlines. And so something we did actually, I want to be clear because I'm on video. I never did this, but a lot of agents, what they would do to close, to make sure that they'd go into contract is they would set their deadlines to non-existent. And so like we go into contract, here's $10,000. If we exit contract for any reason, it's yours. That's insane. But they did it, and I guess it got houses and probably got a bunch of them sued. So setting your deadlines tighter, right? Saying you will know that our earnest money is in the pot, after 2 weeks instead of 3 or something like that. If you are negotiating deadlines, make sure you are talking to your vendors that you can deliver on those deadlines. And then the other thing with earnest money is there's a clause in the rep C where you can make some of the earnest money go hard after the due diligence deadline. So if you, go hard means become non-refundable. So you can say after due diligence, we'll go into the finance appraisal, but half of our earnest money is now non-refundable. That's great. That's a great way to strengthen a deal. I wouldn't do that by default, but it's something you can negotiate with people, especially when you're doing repair negotiations. Okay, and then the other thing, this is related to time of close, so you guys can say that I'm cheating because you kind of already answered this, but leasebacks. Do you guys know what a leaseback is? So after you close, you go to settlement, the seller stays in the house. A leaseback should never go for more than 60 days. I shouldn't say never. Should usually not go for more than 60 days because the terms of most loans will require the buyer to occupy within 60 days. But basically you can say, hey, they're going to live here. They can pay rent or they can not pay rent. But that's a great negotiation tool, especially for sellers who are going straight from this house to their next house and don't want an intermediate place to stay. And so that's a great, would give the seller time to get there. Like new constructions were pretty common, or just when they're shopping. There's contingent on sale, but that's sort of a different deal. If your buyer, oh yeah.
I was wondering, my friend, I think it is.
It's a different form. It's called the escrow instructions. And yeah, so if the buyer agent commission doesn't cover your commission, then you can send in escrow instructions, have that raised. Now I want to talk about buyer commission, but that's certainly covered in a different class. Well, okay, there are two that are a little more corner case. Let's talk about it. Is this making any sense, or am I just jib-jabbing into the wind?
Oh, you're kind of.
Oh, of course, duh. Oh my gosh, that's such a big one. Yes, that should have been blindingly obvious. That should be right here under price before time of close, because that's the bottom line. So we're going to say closing costs. And I retire as teacher. This is your classmate. Yes, obviously closing costs are big. To the seller, closing costs look the same as price reduction, right? Because to them, it's just how much money enters their bank account when the transaction's over. To the buyer, it's a pretty significant difference, because the buyer, closing costs is stuff they like don't have to spend now, so their reserve is greater to make repairs, to do anything that they need to do at the beginning of the purchase. And so if you can, over the 30, 15, 10, 40-year period that the buyer is going to be paying their mortgage, they save more money in that period of time if they reduce the price, because of how interest works. If they need money now, which most, especially first-time buyers do, closing costs is usually a better concession for them. Pretty much all of these, you should talk to your mortgage officer about. Closing costs, the loan definitely is going to have some kind of, they can only get this much in closing costs from the seller, or they must get this much from closing costs from the seller. Yeah, so pretty much any negotiations, you should probably have your mortgage officer in the passenger side seat, make sure that they sign off on them. That's not strictly true of all of these, but close enough. It's pretty true. What was the last thing I was going to say? Oh, contingent on sale. Contingent on sale. So if your buyer needs to sell a house and the house must be sold in order to purchase the new property, then there's a clause in the rep C called contingent on sale, which basically says when we go under contract, we have X amount of days to show that our house is under contract, or we can just back out. Like, we don't manage to put our house in contract, we back out. So contingency on sale, if your buyer needs it, obviously you need to put it in there. It weakens an offer meaningfully to have it in there. So you could consider stripping it away if for some reason your buyer is able to do that. Although if your buyer is able to do it, I would recommend not doing contingent on sale. But that's conversation between you, your buyer, and the mortgage officer. Different situations are different. And then I do want to talk about commissions. Who can explain in a legal way where the buyer agent's commission comes from? Can you expand on broker? If you can't, it's okay. I know 20-year industry professionals who can't answer this question correctly. Mm-hmm. So that's also true. When you, yeah. Yeah, so it comes out of the seller's proceeds. When you sit down with your buyer, you are in Utah, you're using the Utah buyer broker agreement. And on it, it says, you're going to pay me this much commission. That obligates your buyer to pay you commission. And then you're going to go to a house, if it's on the MLS or if it's a FSBO, you'll negotiate with them in a commission agreement that will say, we'll pay a BAC of 2.5, 3, 1. I've seen one for 4. They're usually in the 2 to 3% range. Technically, if that does not cover whatever you wrote in your buyer broker, your buyer is responsible for the difference. In most cases, I don't see that enforced. Like if you want that enforced, you have to enforce it. You have to tell the title company and your buyer, absolutely, that, hey, 0.5% of my commission is coming from you. The way I have this conversation with my buyers is I've been doing this for years, NAR. In case NAR watches this video, I want them to know that I've been doing this for years. I'll sit them down and I'll say, I put 2.5% on that. Of course, you can set your price at whatever you want. And I'll say, look, I charge 2.5% commission. The vast majority of houses that we see will cover my commission. If not, I will tell you in advance that they are not covering my whole commission, so your closing costs are going to be higher. And so, because you see 2% sometimes you see 1, or these irreverent guys are like 0. You can't put 0. $1. Actually, I think you can put 0 now. I don't know. Yeah, I think that was actually a result of the beep that was settled in beep. That was in my script. And then that's exactly what I do. If the commission comes in lower than 2.5, I tell my buyers in advance. So can we then negotiate that? Yes, we can negotiate that their closing costs are lower so that they have the free funds to cover the remainder of my commission, or we can say send in an escrow agreement. One thing that always stressed me out about escrow agreements is it's a separate contract. By design, it is separate from the REPC. And so you might be able to put language like you have to accept this other escrow, but then the escrow becomes part of the REPC. What you can do, however, is if they accept your REPC and not your escrow instructions, your buyer has the ability to say, well, we don't want to pay your extra commission. Let's just pull out of the deal. Like you can still enforce that if they, for some reason, refuse to sign it. However, in 10 years, no one ever has. Like if they refuse one, they refuse both. Does that answer the commission question? So you should not be negotiating commission in the REPC because the buyer and seller actually are not party to what your brokerages pay each other. The seller is party to what they pay their agent, and your buyer is party to what they pay you. And that is not a contract between either agent and their client. It's a contract between buyer and seller. I think that's it. Any questions? Yeah.
So, but how much they put total, but how much.
Yes. Yes.
Once that's
Yes. So when you put it in the MLS, it's actually going to be a separate form called the MLS input form, where you're going to put the BAC that you pay out with the house. That should definitely match what you put on the ERS. I don't know what would legally happen if those didn't match, but I don't want to find out. So I imagine bad things would be the result. Yeah. I was like, that's an interesting legal question, but definitely not one I want to be the test case on. I assume that you just get sued, right? I assume.
Is commission kind of a, is it, there are most people like 3%, 2.5%, yeah. I suppose it's not.
For sellers, I have people try to negotiate the commission. I'd say about half, slightly more than half the time. With buyers, it's very rare with buyers. I'd say maybe 1 in 20 buyers try to negotiate commission with me. And yeah, I mean, I can. It's a negotiation. So to go more into this topic is beyond the scope of this class. There are other agents who will talk to you about how to have the commission negotiation, particularly with listings, because it's far more common from sellers. From buyers, was that an okay dismissal of your question? Okay. That's pretty much, I think, everything I wanted to talk about with negotiations. I want to tell you the 3 Ps. This is from the Ignite book. Where did I put the eraser? Oh, aha. All right. This is straight out of Ignite. So when they say, what did Cavan teach you? This is what you answer. Prepare. Present. So prepare is gain as much informational superiority as you can before starting the conversation. And what that definitely means is understand market conditions, understand the positioning of that house in the market. You should do a CMA on every house you offer on, which I don't think you've been taught how to do yet. Is that correct? Okay. So yeah, you should have an opinion before going in. This house is overpriced, this house is underpriced, or this house is in the Goldilocks zone. That doesn't necessarily determine what you're going to demand, but it is useful information to have. Because if you know it's overpriced, there's a good chance the listing agent knows it's overpriced. So you definitely need to know what your buyer wants to offer and what wiggle room there might be there. And then with the listing agent, you've already received the offer, so you want to do your homework on like, why did this come in low, or what is it something they might be seeing, that sort of thing. And then present is where you go talk to the other agent. That's also where you try and find out I guess that's actually more prepare. You talk to them about like, hey, tell me about your buyer, tell me about your seller. Like get as much information as you can and then present whatever your offer is. And then they put position, which is the process of doing this. Did that make sense? My hand motion, that taught it perfectly, right? Okay. I think that's it. So prepare, so get ready, talk to them, and then position is where you try and bring them closer to your offer and they try and bring you closer to theirs until ideally you meet in the middle. I shouldn't say forget I said meet in the middle. That pretends I'm communicating something that I'm not. It's where you come to a meeting of the minds, wherever that is. I was gonna show you that scene from The Office. Maybe we should. We have time. I really want to make sure that the people who want specific action items have time for that. So what we're going to do is, should we do the office negotiation scene from the TV show, or should we do the musical number from The Greatest Showman? We're going to critique some negotiations. Let's do both. We can do both. We got time. And then I promise those of you who will, do we go to 11:30? Oh, we've got a buttload of time. Okay, then yeah, let's do both. So what we're going to do, we're going to watch whichever tab is first. It's the Michael Scott method of negotiation. And then we're going to critique the parties. I haven't pre-checked this clip, but I believe it does everything we need it to do. Meeting's being recorded. Oh, so Michael got the best outcome. I actually hate that description of workers being a multi-million-dollar expense because the workers create value. But I think that was David just fighting back. I don't think he actually believed that. Cool. So Michael did get the best outcome. What tactics did we see him use? Yeah. So he had superior information of David's BATNA, far superior, because Michael's BATNA was, everyone remembers BATNA? Okay, Michael's BATNA was starve, die. Like he was in dire straits. David's BATNA was probably lose his job. Maybe. It was at least a credible enough threat. So Michael had way superior knowledge of both sides' BATNAs. Anything else that either side did well or poorly? Yeah, Connor.
I think Michael played, whether intentionally or unintentionally, the dunce. I mean,
Yeah.
he started off and was like, "Don't even give me your first offer," and David just rolled his eyes.
Yeah.
He's like, "Oh, we're dealing with an idiot," you know?
That's a wonderful observation. So I wouldn't recommend playing stupid as such, but I would say that was a setting him at ease.
It was disarming.
Yeah. Oh, disarming's even better. I already started writing set at ease, but if you're taking notes, write disarm. Because yeah, I think that was absolutely brilliant and probably unintentional because he is an idiot in the show. But okay. What did we see David do wrong?
Negotiate at all. He just kind of accepted.
Yeah, just kind of got rolled.
Yeah.
That's millennial for he got defeated badly. Now you're all on board. Yeah, so he pushed back on,
Didn't want to argue.
yeah,
Didn't want to battle.
he pushed back on reasoning, but he didn't, yeah, like he didn't push back on counter offering very well. I want to tell you a story. I was representing a buyer, and the listing company was at the time very well known, and they advertised how they charged very low commissions. And I had mic went out again. So I wanted to get the best possible deal for my client. And so we went to we did the price negotiation. Oh, they also, the BAC they offered was, I want to say 1, 2%. It was a really low BAC. No, I think it was 2.5 because I remember it was within my tolerance. And so we went to the price negotiation. We got it for a reasonable price. And then we went to the inspection, and I was really excited to just wail on them for the inspection. So we did the inspection, and this house was in such good condition. It was driving me crazy. It was like a 20-year-old house, but it was in excellent condition. But the inspector did his job and told us every little thing he could find. It was like minor stuff, like minor damage, minor repair jobs needed. And so my thought was, you know, I know this company is understaffed. I know they don't have time to look at every deal carefully. And so I asked my clients, I said, look, this house is in great condition. If they concede nothing, you're actually in pretty good shape. Can I go after them anyway? And they said, yeah. And so I took the inspection report. I took the entire inspection report, 12-page document. I put it in an email. I sent it to the listing agent. I said, as you can see, there's a lot wrong with the house, and my clients are extremely concerned about it. And so we are requesting a $5,000 repair concession. Also, since they're covering the rest of my commission, they want you to do it. We want you to pay me a 3% commission. Which was handled through escrow instructions. The listing agent called me, and he railed on me for like 5 minutes. I don't know how long the actual phone call was. It was between 5 and 10. It was a long phone call. And he said, listen, you agreed to this BAC when you went under contract with us, and we think these demands are ridiculous. We don't want to concede any of them. And he was telling me I was a bad agent, da-da-da-da-da. He never asked for anything. It was a 5 to 10 minute conversation about how I was a bad agent. Then we hung up because I was like, okay. And then we hung up. And then they sent acceptance of our demands. So I got a bigger commission. My client saved a buttload of money. He never asked me for anything. I think he was hoping I would apologize and withdraw, but I did not. That's not my job. That's his stupid job. And so if you never ask for anything, you won't get it. And that is something David, I actually would argue, he did put counteroffers here. There's another one in the show that I didn't queue up where Pam is negotiating with Gabe. You remember that one? So Pam fakes her way into the office administrator job, and then Gabe pulls it in his office like, hey, I just found out you were faking this. Could you please? And then he literally stops talking. And she's like, what? What do you want me to do? And he won't say anything. He says, cool. So I'm the office administrator. Let me know. And she leaves. And that's, Gabe doesn't make a demand. If you don't make a demand, you won't get anything.
So basically what you're saying is you listen, you see, you just said, okay.
Yeah, and things the whole time.
And everything, I mean, it was kosher and everything ended up being fine.
Yeah, and they sent acceptance. Because the whole time he was right. Everything he was saying was true. Like we were asking for a ridiculous amount. And I was pushing for a commission that I had agreed to a lower one already. Which that's actually kind of a stupid comment because you can still negotiate anything you want. But I was like, okay, it's over, right? The gig is up. These guys beat me. Oh, well, I tried. But then he never asked for anything. I said, see you later. We hung up and they sent acceptance. It's like, okay. It was amazing. Yeah, okay. Any other observations on this one? Yes, yeah. Underestimated. Yeah. Yeah, and I think that is Michael did a good job of making himself look vulnerable when he really wasn't. And then David took the bait. He's like, oh, I'm going to wreck this negotiation. And David probably entered the room thinking he was just going to wreck that negotiation. And he didn't have his defenses up. That's exactly right. Cool. Any other thoughts on that before we get to Wolverine versus Zac Efron? Yeah.
I think Michael was honest when he said that, like, I don't care about the money in the business. People,
oh, yeah.
He doesn't really care about the money.
Yeah. I'm going to put that as dispassion. There is a principle in international politics that applies to all negotiations that whoever cares more hurts more. Also true in relationships. So the best way to be happy in a relationship is care about your partner less than they care about you. Nailed it. Happy Valentine's Day. So one of the chief values you bring to the deal as an agent is you can be dispassionate about the deal when your buyers or sellers reasonably cannot be expected to be dispassionate. It's a huge amount of money. For most of them, it is the largest transaction they will make in their life. And so I made fun of bulldogs earlier. And I said the way to beat a bulldog negotiator is to let them feel like they're winning while you're getting everything you want. The reason for that is bulldog negotiators put it on their ego that I'm going to win this negotiation. I'm the best. And so they come in there with an emotional need that you don't reflect. Because who cares what you look like? Just get the win for your client. And so your dispassion is a massive asset to your clients. Obviously, you don't want to be a robot with your clients. I don't think anyone's understanding that from what I'm saying. But when you're on the phone with the other party, your job is to get a good deal. Get your ego right the heck out of there. It has nothing to do with it. Take your lumps if you're against a bulldog and then just win the negotiation. Yeah, so like Michael, he did care a lot, and this is where it was a little, because he was negotiating on his own behalf. One thing he did wrong is he didn't listen to his clients, although it actually kind of worked out well for him. If we call Pam and Ryan his clients. But his ability to project a lack of passion was extremely strong and got a lot of advantage. Cool. Shall we move on? This next one's a bop. It's from The Greatest Showman. It's the song The Other Side. In my opinion, the best one from the album. And I'll leave it there. You do need to hear the lyrics, so I got a lyrics video or a subtitled video. And we're going to talk about how these two negotiated. So the situation here, which I should have given you on The Office, is Wolverine runs a circus. He is P.T. Barnum, right? Okay. The other guy, I can't remember his name, but he's played by Zac Efron, so it doesn't matter. He's just very handsome. And Wolverine wants Zac Efron to join his circus, so he's essentially offering him a job, and then they're going into negotiations surrounding that. This song, it just slaps, so do your best to pay attention to the negotiating skills and not burst into dance. Okay, so my first question, who won that negotiation? Yeah, they both did. That was illustrating the concept that we were talking about earlier. He plays it coy at first, but Zac Efron clearly was interested, and they both ended up with a deal they were happy with. That was a win-win negotiation. Cool. So that's one thing. You could very obliquely argue that David and Michael was a win-win, but it's certainly not really. But they sang the chorus together at the end, so you know they were in sync. That's musical language. Okay, so what did our characters do well?
Kind of cool on both sides.
Okay. So can you specifically, what did they do that played it cool? Because I think they both had different tactics that I really liked.
So I think like Jack was kind of acting like he wasn't interested at first,
Uh-huh.
and mine sound like plays, and then sat down like, oh, it's up here.
Yeah. And so it's not, if you get too addicted to this tactic, it's going to get you in more trouble than not. But sometimes it's just time to say, that's our offer. What are you going to do about it? Yeah. The language for that in real estate is just put it in writing. You can talk on the phone all day. And when you talk on the phone, there's sort of the implicit idea that, hey, we're still trying to work with you. And when you put it in writing and saying, look, this is a real offer. If you sign this, we're under contract. And so I don't want to call it walking away because that kind of gives the wrong idea, but final offer. I'm going to call it final offer mentality. Okay, anything else? Yeah, and this one I think is really interesting because it's implied that Wolverine was correct about Zac's disposition. It's a little hard to tell, but he did his homework, right? So I'm going to put BATNAs here. Wolverine understood both of their BATNAs. I don't think Zac Efron shows any evidence that he understood Wolverine's BATNA. I don't know if we as the audience know his BATNA. So, yeah, well, and that's true. He did demonstrate understanding of the circus, which you could kind of argue. Not really. He doesn't demonstrate understanding of Wolverine's BATNA because I don't even know if the writers knew. But yeah, he did understand the circus. He knew who he was, and he demonstrated that understanding, which was useful in that case. They do the thing, so they go under contract, right? Oh, I'm sorry, Connor.
Did a great job of asking and kind of
Ooh, yeah. Oh, I've never thought of that. That's really good.
first off, base Zac Efron's ability.
Yeah,
Are you really happy? Are you really
Yeah.
like and then he painted the picture. He painted like I don't like implying that he's saying I don't think you are happy with me.
yeah.
Think about all of this. Imagine this.
So one thing I think Wolverine definitely demonstrated superiority on, and that's what you're talking about, is the understanding Zac's motives. So we'll say motives, which is slightly different than the BATNA. Those are related, but not quite the same thing. And so this is the equivalent of saying, tell me what's important to your seller. And then potentially throwing it back in their teeth later. never throw things in people's teeth. Dentistry is expensive, but where it's like, you told me your seller was really eager to get the house sold quickly. We want to sell a house quickly. Tell me why we're hitting a log jam here. Like kind of make them answer for what's important to them. Because there's a good chance that the agent's own ego is getting in the way or something. And so that's a way to sort of clear some of let's get back to what's important to your seller. They wanted to sell quickly. We're full price. We're trying to sell quickly. What's going wrong here? Okay, so they go under contract, right? And then they head to the inspection. And this is where they do the thing that actually drives me crazy on TV, where it's like 10, 8, 9, 9.2. Yes, negotiations do look like that sometimes, but we want to teach you to be Shotokan karate practitioners, not barroom brawlers. And so occasionally you get to, okay, will your client do $375 and $200? And they're like, no, but they'll do $375 and $500. Like, okay, I talked to my buyer, can we do $375, $412? And those negotiations happen, but by the time you get to that, you're brawling. One thing they did a reasonably good job of is Zach he said, hey, I want 18%. And Wolverine did not take that. Yeah, he just said, that's a ridiculous offer. That's actually valid sometimes. Why wasn't it valid when the guy did it to me? Because we were already under contract. Inertia was on my side. If we did nothing, how? I presented that information badly. All they had to do was nothing. They sent acceptance. Cool. What did I just say? Oh yeah. Ridiculous. So this is where I teach my contradictory things. I told you that you should make demands, and that's true. There is something that's happened to me a couple times when I have a listing and someone comes in with an embarrassingly low offer. And so I don't know why people I think it's wholesalers or whatever, but they'll put like $1 of earnest money. They'll come in way below your list price. I am in the school of thought, don't counter those, or just counter at exactly full price. Because people are just fishing for a low price with a ridiculous offer, which Wolverine implied 18% was. That's all they want. They're trying to ask you, hey, how low will your seller go? And the answer to that is always full price. So reject ridiculous offers. Which, to be clear, that's what the guy at that brokerage should have done with me. He should have just said no. I was making a ridiculous offer. Cool. Anything else? I think we actually kind of covered that one. The main one they demonstrate is good knowledge of the other person, especially Wolverine understands the motives of the other guy. This was a bit scatterbrained, but that's because negotiation is a topic that has many facets. Is there something you wish I had covered that you want to talk about negotiation before we jump into prospecting and your daily activities? Okay.
I would just like to know, I don't want to do a bad experience. Just tell us a bad experience that you had, what you learned from it.
Bad experience with negotiation. Yeah. Let me think. I don't have one ready, but I'm going through my deals that I hated. Oh yeah, the house that I bought for myself. This is I bought a house in Provo. It was a neighborhood I was interested. I wanted to move into it. We didn't like our neighborhood in Orem, and it was Fizbo's. And here's the deal. Let's present this like a quiz. I'm going to tell you a story, and you're going to tell me what I did wrong. It's on the board. It's a word that is on the board right now, so that'll narrow your options a bit. If you can read my writing, good freaking luck. So it was a place in Provo. And it was a Fizbo, and they were a bit underlisted. And so I went to them and said, look, I'm a realtor. As part of buying the house, I need my real estate fee to cover my down payment. And they said, sure, no problem. And so essentially we negotiated a 3% discount on the already low price. To be fair, I was not lying. I did need that for the down payment. And then we got to the inspection. Other thing I want to point out, I talked directly to the sellers because it was FSBOs. They didn't have representation. It was an elderly couple. They were like in their 70s, I think. They were very sweet, very kind. I really liked them. We got to the inspection phase, and there was a ton wrong with the house. The husband in this couple was a DIYer. He did a lot of self fixes, and there was like a broken window, and like a bunch of the piping was off. The electrics were old. And I was talking to my wife, and I was like, "Look, we're already getting a good deal on this place, and I feel terrible. I don't want to crucify these guys." And literally, I was talking to them. I was like, "Hey, we just had the inspection," and the woman said, "Look, we'll fix anything you need." And I was like, "No, it's okay." And that no, it's okay was such an expensive sentence. So we moved in. The house isn't like a trash heap, but we had to make a ton of repairs. I'm very glad we got a home warranty because that helped. And we had to make a ton of repairs. It was super expensive. And frankly, I wish we had just taken them up on their offer of fix it, right? And so, quiz, what did I do wrong? It actually helped me understand because at that point it was 2016, so I'd been in the business 2 or 3 years. 1 or 2 years? 1 or 2 years. I can do math. Yeah, I don't know if I underestimated my opposition. Maybe, possibly she was playing me, although they didn't get a good deal either. It was dispassion because it was my house. And even though I'm like, I'm a realtor, I know what I'm doing. And that's true. When it's your own house, it's very different. Like part of me is like, I probably should have hired a realtor. And so while I'm not like devastated, I still am happy with the price we got on that house, especially now. Good heavens. There are condos going for twice what I paid for my single family house with a giant yard. Yep, that's life. That's inflation, baby. But I really wish I'd let Realtor Cav take over and be like, no, we're not here to make friends. We're here to represent your interests, and they need to fix these things. So that's my example of a negotiation gone badly. Any other questions? So when you're buying a house for yourself, hire me. No, you can represent yourself. Just, I don't know. It's a good idea to have a dispassionate party involved. And so honestly, if you are buying for yourself, feel free to ask me questions. I won't charge you. I might charge you lunch if you have a great deal. Any other questions about negotiation, or should we jump into daily activities? Okay. What I'd like to do is I'd love to go, how much time we've got? We've got 25 minutes. I would love to hear what everyone is doing now, kind of how it's going, what problems you are facing. And I literally want you leaving here knowing exactly what you're going to do for the rest of the week at least. And ideally for the rest of the quarter. So let's talk about your prospecting and let's go from there. So is everyone comfortable with that? Does anyone want to skip? Okay, then we're going to start with Kevin. Talk to me. What are we doing? How's it going? Mm-hmm. Love it. Are you?
No, initially I'm like, you're like, door to door, door to door, door knock, door knock, door knock, door knock.
Who says that?
You can hear that one.
That's interesting. Okay.
You know, so I'm gonna try it. To tell my neighborhood, what happened, as well as get the word out.
Okay. Are you local or are you a transplant? Okay. And is that where you work? Like that's where you live and where you're, okay. My only tip for door knocking, although I want to be very clear, I've never closed anything off door knocking. I'd say in my career, I've probably spent maybe 40 hours doing it, so I'm not exactly a pro. I've gotten 3 listing appointments, um, and that's it. The tip I have for door knocking is if you want to go for it, it's very much a numbers game. I found it way easier to have a friend or come with me. Like, I don't know if you have a spouse or a buddy or someone in this room. If I'm alone, I can door knock about 5 doors before I melt into a puddle of anxiety. If I'm with someone, I can literally do an 8-hour shift. Yeah. Because then when someone's rude to you, which doesn't, I think we inflate how rude people are on the door because one rude person feels like 20 rude people when most people say, I'm not really interested, thanks. And that hurts your feelings. Door knocking's not for you. But if you're with someone or like, screw you, man, then you've got like, oh, that guy was a jerk, and you can keep going. You've got sort of a vent. If you want to door knock, proceed. People have built great careers on it. Because you live here, you've written down your SOI. That's what you're talking about with command in the database. I'm so sorry. Sphere of influence, your friends, family, people you know. Okay. In terms of hours prospecting to money made, my experience is SOI is far more efficient than cold contacting of any kind. But I don't want to turn you off of door knocking because I know people have literally gotten rich off of it. So if you've got the skin for it, there's money out there. Do you have any question? Like, do you have specific plans on how you're going to do it, or do you want help with that?
I have plans. I'm just pretty generic. Just like, knock on the door. Hey, my name's Kevin Davis. I live in the neighborhood. And just got my real estate license.
Mhm.
And do you know of anybody that's either looking to buy a home or sell their home in your, in the neighborhood or in your life? I mean, I'm kind of going off the top of my head right now, but you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Do you know of anybody that no, I don't. Martha, do you know anybody? No, I don't know anybody. Well, thank you very much for your time today. Here's my card, or here's a magnet, or something.
Oh, magnet's good. Magnet's good.
And if you ever think of anybody, please give me a call. Thank you. God bless you.
Okay, 2 things I would like to throw into your pot. One that everyone should pay attention to is script practice. Do you have like accountability partners? Do the people in this room know each other? You sat next to each other. Are you friends? That's great.
Get to know each other a little bit. I've seen everybody on this room already once except for you. Okay. That's fair.
So something I would love to start doing again. I was doing it for a while, but there's no way I'm doing it consistently again until March because February I'm in the state for half the time. Is script practice where you get together and you literally plan out what you're going to say at the door. And we're going to talk about that in a second too. But so it's good to have a partner if you can. I'm a huge fan of doing script practice in person. If you can do it over the phone, that's fine. When you do script practice, the other person should be extremely hostile to you. I'm being dead serious, in every possible way, but they should not hang up on you, so to speak. They should never slam the door. But it's like, why should I care? I don't, maybe not, I don't want to talk to you, but they should be a hostile recipient so that when those things happen, you already know what you're doing. Because that person doesn't hate you, so it's a safer environment. Script practice where the other person's like, yeah, okay. Like you do need to know how to handle that. But mainly, a good rule of thumb is they should fight back like 3 times and then say yes or something like that. Yeah, I'm a big fan of respecting literal people when they just say no, but when they bring up objections, you should know how to answer them. The other thing with door-to-door and any cold contacting, and I would argue any contacting, is the come from contribution. Jasmine left, but she's coming back because her computer's here. So either she's coming back or I just got a computer. It's related to the MOFR. A MOFR is a marketing thing where it stands for make offer for immediate return. And it's if they click here, they're going to get something they want. Usually a home evaluation is the default one. Hold on one sec. So it's okay to ask someone who likes and trusts you, hey, do you know anyone who's looking to buy, sell, or invest? It is better to say, would you be interested in knowing what the value of your home is? Or do you have any neighbors who you think would benefit from talking to a realtor or something like that? But always be like, I want to help you. Because they know you want leads, but ask for those leads in a better way. Like the one script that I had weirdly good luck with. This worked. I've observed this works with people older than me, and so people about my parents' age might just say, "Hey, I just wanted to see, is there anything I can help you with? Do you have any real estate questions that I could help you out with?" And from people like mid-50s higher, I've gotten pretty positive response on that kind of script. With a door, you don't control their age, but you could do like, hey, I printed out a neighborhood report. Do you want to see the 3 homes within a mile of you that are for sale, or something like that, where you're helping them? Because most of the time they'll say no thanks, or they'll be like, yeah, thanks, and then be like, yeah, have you been thinking about selling? Like, then go from there. Does that make sense? Always start by, I'm helping you with something, ideally something cheap or free. Although if you have the money for it, people do like magnets. My wife keeps other realtors magnets. It's cause of great tension. Yeah. And then the last thing I want to talk about, and this is specific to door knocking, so everyone should have these in mind. Door knocking, there's something called circle prospecting. How would you rate my handwriting? Whoa, I'll take 7. That's it. Connor, I've had enough of your attitude. Circle prospecting is it's better if it's one of your listings, but obviously when you're starting, you don't have them. And frankly, I don't have any listings right now. Like, you work with what you got. So any listing that just went to market, just went under contract, or just sold is of interest to its neighbors. And so I would recommend getting permission from the listing agent, but I think this doesn't strictly count as marketing. Check with a broker. I'm going to go for my broker's license later, which is one reason I was curious about your experiences with your schools. I think I'm going to do string them. Anyway, check this advice against a broker. I don't think you need permission to like print out the MLS 1 sheet of someone else's listing and hand it to someone. I don't. Yeah. Check with a broker, but circle prospecting is powerful because when a neighbor goes up, there's often, it's not like 100% correlation to be clear, but if one house is going for sale, there's a good chance other houses are going for sale. And so you go, hey, you may have noticed your neighbor's house just went up for sale. I got the information, are you interested in what's going on with it? Can we talk about it? That kind of thing. That script I just gave you was absolute trash. But you get the idea, yeah. And then the other thing is when a house goes under contract, this worked a lot in the previous markets, and I think it's going to start working again. I think it would work now. Don't say this if it's not true, okay? Never say anything that's untrue. But a script I would use is, hey, this house just went under contract. My buyers put an offer on it, and we were not the winning bid. So I want to do right by them and see if there's a place in this neighborhood that they could buy because they really loved it. Would you be interested in selling your house to my buyers? Only say that if it's true. The other thing you can look at is, hey, this house just went under contract. There are other buyers who want to buy in this neighborhood. That's always true. But then you're not lying. And you say, would you be interested in selling your house? Because that's still kind of coming from contribution. You're saying, look, we have this situation. It also makes you look like a rock star agent because you're trying to represent your buyers or buyers in general. Does that make sense? That's all my thoughts on door knocking. I'm a big fan of taking a friend. And if it's someone from here, I would just like split the deals 50-50. But if you're good at doing it on your own, go do it on your own, baby. I'm going to move on, but if you have follow-up questions, I want everyone here to feel cared about. Because if I don't care about you, I'm a very good actor. I care about 3 people in here. The rest of you all think it's you, but Dave, what are we doing for prospecting? How's it going?
Haven't been here.
Okay. Do you have plans or I guess, tell me what's going on, why not? Okay, fair enough. Okay. Let's make a plan. What kind of prospecting are you comfortable with?
So what my plan is gonna be is I've been in sales for 20 years.
Oh, you know your crap.
But I was in construction sales.
Okay.
And so I don't do that anymore.
Is that B2B or what's?
Yeah, in a roundabout way.
Okay.
Pretty much. Good. We would do, what we did is highway signs. So like those big green signs out there, we did all of them.
Yeah.
We would sell them to contractors, cities, states, government. So I have a lot of people on LinkedIn, and that's what I'm gonna work on. Switching, putting that I'm a real estate agent now. I haven't even done that. So
Yeah.
like I said, it's my first Ignite class.
Yeah. I mean, that's a good plan. Getting yourself out there. There's something I want to pitch to all of you. When I was in Ignite, we did the 10x4. I think it might now be the 10x3 because I know they knocked one of them off. Is it 10x4? Can you tell me what the 4 are? Because I don't think it was what no, I'll tell you what my 4 were and you can see if it's a match. So 10 contacts a day. I know you have this one still, right? 10 database ads. I'm going to put DBA. Oh no, that was a B. DBA, 10 database ads a day. 10 notes a day. And this is the one I don't think you have anymore, is 10 tours a week. You do have that? Sick. That's great. Okay. Yeah, so the main thing with tours is don't put sellers out. I would search the MLS for vacant properties and then just call agents, hey, can I walk through the property? If they ask about your buyers, just tell them truth. Say, I'm training, I just want to leave the house. And they'll probably be like, that's weird, no. Don't put sellers out. Don't kick sellers out of the house so you can go walk through it. Open houses are great because you're literally invited to those. But that is perhaps the most powerful thing you can do to get a feel for what the market is. So when you go to a house, be like, this house is listed for $420,000. And you walk in the next one. This house is listed for $450,000. And what I would do is go to houses, like on a given week, go to 10, like I'm going to do mid-range. And then this week, I'm going to look at condos. And you'll quickly get a feel for what a $450,000 house feels like. And that way, honestly, if you master that, you're going to be ahead of 80% of agents. Yes, that's according to the CMA class. So I recommend everyone do that right away. Now, if your question is, and I am going to come to the rest of you, I promise, but I think this might pre-answer a lot of questions. Who should those 10 contacts be with? Your friends and family, or what is called your sphere of influence, or SOI. So has anyone been doing this already who has a script they'd be willing to share? I haven't done this for 10 years. Sorry, I do the 10 contacts a day and more, but yeah. Yeah. Yes. Ford is so good. Okay. Did everyone follow that? This is extremely powerful. How do we do this? I'm just gonna do it. I'm gonna do this very quickly with the understanding. Have you already done the prospecting class? There's an Ignite class. There's multiple Ignite classes dedicated to what we're talking about. I want to give you a quick overview. No, I don't need to turn around. I got room. Okay. Your contacts can be divided into 4 categories. A is people who love you. You could call them and say, oh, he looks all buck-toothed. Now he looks weird. They love you. You could call them and say, look, I'm a realtor. I'm desperate. I need a lead. And you'd be comfortable having that conversation with them. Like A is people who love you. They want you to succeed. They're in your corner of the ring. Probably your family is this. probably your close friends are this. If they don't live in Utah, then who cares? Screw them. By the way, that should never be the phone conversation you have with someone, just to be clear. So B is people who like you. The other thing about your A's is you're confident that if they were hiring a realtor and they knew you were a realtor, they would hire you. B is the people who like you and would probably work with you if they knew you were a realtor. Like you're comfortable having conversations with them. So calling them up and saying, hey man, how things are going? If that doesn't feel weird, but also you don't know if they would work with you if they hired someone, then you've found yourself a B contact. C is people who don't dislike you, but also just calling them out of the blue and saying, hey man, what's up? Would be a little odd. Like, oh, hey, is that Darwin? No, it's Dave. On point, on point. And then D, this is kind of a catch-all category. Other real estate professionals are Ds. I would argue people living outside of Utah can be Ds. Someone you don't like and don't want to talk to is a D. Someone who you know hates you. Someone who's not going to work with you, and it doesn't really matter how much you market to them. Those are your Ds. Then everyone should fall in one of those categories. You should be loving on your A's. This is where your leads come from, and I will get specific soon, I promise. With the B's, you should be trying to turn them into A's. With the C's, you should be trying to turn them into B's. And if you're feeling extra, try and turn your D's into C's or B's. So what this means practically is anyone here not from Utah? Does anyone not have a basis of friends and family here? Okay. Who are you making Ford calls to?
Family.
Okay.
I've lived here for about 5 years.
Okay, so you've got a decent basis here. Yeah, okay. Do you want me to re-explain something? I promise I'm willing to. Yeah. Oh, yes, okay. Yeah, okay. So no, please don't apologize. This part of the class is literally about you guys. I'm just in the way. So this is how to have a conversation with someone when you're not directly asking for a lead, which we'll get to that in a second. So Ford is family. Oh my gosh. Occupation. There we go. Fixed it. Recreation. And dreams. So these are the subjects you can talk about people. This is how to make small talk, because realtors, when you got your license, you may remember we cut out the part of your brain that made you like a normal, social, happy person. And so now this is to teach you how to fake it. Yeah, no. Here's something about when people become realtors makes you forget how humans like to interact. It happened to me too. And so there's the classic example. I did this too. You all will probably do this, and it's okay. Where you haven't talked to someone for 6 years, and then you're like, hey, buddy, we haven't talked for a while. Let's catch up. By the way, I'm in real estate. So if you know anyone, like we've all gotten those Facebook messages. They're about essential oils. They're about saran wrap that makes you skinny. Yeah. And they're insulting. Yeah, for me, it takes someone from neutral to screw you. And so my strong recommendation, the person we're describing, that's a C-level contact, where it's like, this person doesn't hate me, we just don't really talk. What I would recommend for your first and maybe first several contacts with them is it's just this. What will naturally happen when you do Ford is like, so what are you doing for work these days? And like, oh, I'm a software engineer. What about you? You're like, oh, I'm in real estate. That should be everything you say about real estate in that conversation. If they ask you, great. But with a C-level contact, if you're like, hey, girlfriend, oh, you're looking so good. I love your family. Hey, can I have a lead? Like, we've all gotten those messages. We hate those messages. Humans hate those messages. And so with C contacts and maybe Bs you can be a little firmer with, but with C contacts, this is the goal, is you want them to feel warm and they want to talk to you again. That's literally all you're going for. If you get a lead out of them somehow, great, that's icing. It's not true of cold contacting. With cold contacting, you're just literally hitting 1,000 people asking for leads. But the other thing is always this should be in the forefront of your mind when you're doing prospecting and marketing, which we're not going to talk about today just because time is finite. So when you reach out to someone, be like, my entire goal of this conversation is to improve their life in some way. And so with your A's and B's, that can be, hey, I just got my real estate license. Do you have a real estate question I can help you out with? If you're comfortable saying that, then yeah, that's not a terrible script. Or you can be like, hey, do you want me to show you a printout of everything for sale in your neighborhood? You want me to send you a market report? Like coming for contribution those. With the C's, I'd be wary on that because they know what you're doing. They're not idiots. Unless your SOI is all idiots, then yeah, go ahead. But yeah, I would definitely, with definitely B's and C's, put this in the forefront. And then once you've warmed them up, there will be chances to work them for leads. And you also put them into your marketing pit, but that's, again, another conversation.
I think the reason why the Ford system works so well is it establishes that relationship.
Yeah.
And people want to buy stuff.
Yeah. If you don't care about someone, they can smell it. They call it commission breath sometimes, and I really like that. Okay, so that's your 10 contacts a day. 10 database ads for you, those can probably go hand in hand, where it's make contact, add them to your database. Rank them A, B, C, or D. If you just talk to them, probably they're not a D. And so that's the 10 contacts, 10 database ads. We all on board so far? Okay. Then the next one is 10 notes. The strategy that was recommended to me in Ignite that I feel middling about, but I don't have a better option, is contact, database, then write that same person a note. Hey, it was so cool to talk to you. People love handwritten notes. They love them. I am now doing 2 notes a day, and I do gratitude notes. It has nothing to do with who I contacted, at least not necessarily. It'll just be someone that I'd be like, oh, this was cool that you did this for me, or just, hey, we like you, you're fun, or something like. People love that crap.
Hand deliver those?
No, heavens no. I mail them. If you are,
If you have their address.
when I joined this brokerage, remember I talked at the beginning how easy it was for my generation of realtors? The first paycheck I got from this brokerage, I was down to the wire of, if I don't get this process today, I'm not going to make my mortgage payment on time. And so but that's my fault. I made choices that led to that situation. And so why did I bring that up? There's some, oh, right. The reason for that is I had no funds for marketing. And so everything was hand delivered, everything was on the phone. Like I had $0 for my marketing budget. That may be a lot of your situations. I don't love spending money on marketing before you've made money. I get why people do it, and it's not a terrible strategy, but I don't like it. I'm very much a lead with revenue person. Cool. That's why I told that horrible story. 10 tours a week. We just talked about it. Does anyone have any questions about this? So this should be on the MLS, it'll list vacant. Yeah, and then that's the best way to do it. It'll also, if you look at the pictures, if there's no furniture, probably empty.
Probably,
Maybe. Although if you can find vacant ones that do have furniture, that's ideal because then you'll start to intrinsically learn about staging and stuff like that. Like, oh, that's ugly as crap. Incidentally, one thing you can do is if you have cooperative friends, and this is actually not a bad script, you say, hey, I'm training as a realtor. I need someone to go through some houses with me. Do you want to go look at some houses with me? They're all going to want to look at the high-end ones. To look at the highest of high-end houses, you need to show proof of funds, sometimes even get a showing. Don't do that. Like stick to 6-digit numbers. Unless you are, if you are specifically trying to get into luxury, first, it's not going to be your first sale. I don't know if that ever happens. And 2, talk to someone who's in luxury. They know more than I do. But unless you're specifically trying to get into luxury, 6-digit houses only. Because the millionaires really don't want you just touring their house. The millionaires. So if you don't know what to do, this is what you should be doing. With that said, let's jump ahead. Stacy, how's it going? What are we doing? How's it going? Sure. Mm-hmm. Oh, that's great. That is cool. Is it like Stacy or something? His last digit? Let's go. Okay. Love it. That's fun. Yeah. Whoa, I love it. Um, how's the marketing going? Do you feel lost? Do you feel like you have direction? Okay. Are you on a team? Okay. Um, one principle. Oh, there goes the first part of my name. I hope you remember it by now. Uh, something something else I wish I had understood when I started in real estate. Yeah. Marketing is how you make tons of money. If you want to build a huge business, it will be because you have good marketing. You cannot prospect. You cannot out prospect a good marketing machine. Prospecting is how you make money right the heck now. Marketing will give you money if you're very good at it later this year. Prospecting will give you money in a month or two. And so that's why when you start, we tend to be prospect, because we want to keep you here. Please don't leave. And then marketing is how you're going to make a lot of money. Yeah. So what the reason I bring that up is I don't know what kind of financial basis you're working from, but the marketing is absolutely good and you should keep doing it. Make sure at least right now that it's being supplemented with prospecting. And I think always you should be doing both to some extent, although the difference is like prospecting, marketing, this is the beginning of your career, and then this is toward the end of your career. But this is like mid game, and then this is I'm a mega agent.
I have a question.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I was talking to somebody about this. They said that first couple of years you're doing a lot of that prospecting, right?
Yeah.
And then it seems as you get into business, most of your clientele is from referrals.
Yes.
You say that's true. That's where that marketing thing comes in too, right? Where
That
they get to know you and there's Cavan, there's a picture, whatever.
Yes. So I would say that is largely true, yes, especially among agents who are smarter and better than me. I have done, historically over my career, I've done a poor job of staying in touch with closed clients. And so yes, I have observed that. Like I have had a good number of past clients. I have some fiercely loyal clients. I call them the Alliance. And they are people who just send me leads super reliably. There are two clients that as soon as I can afford to, I'm flying them to Hawaii. They have made me so much money. Just those two have referred me so many people. And so, yes, I agree with what is said. It is not going to happen by accident. It is going to happen because you make it happen through good follow-up systems. Okay. Do you want to talk about anything or do you feel good, Stacy? I am also, yeah. So I've just left the Morkel team, and so I've been rebuilding my marketing machine. The best year I had by far was 2020. And what I was doing in 2020 is a crap load of online marketing. And so that's what I'm sort of trying to rebuild now that I've left the Morkel team. So it is a conversation I'd be happy to have. Let's get in touch next week or something. But it's a big conversation. Marketing's big. Don't get too, okay, here's my advice. Don't get too lost in the weeds. Yes, of course you want a good logo. Yes, you want to put out good content, but frankly, if you are posting, oh, that's what, let's talk about the 80-20. This is another thing you're going to learn about in far more detail. But right now, just know that this is called the 80-20 or Pareto principle. And look it up online if you're interested, and it's actually really weird. But the way you weaponize it in your business is you should be posting on social media every day. Yeah, really, if social media is totally alien to you, get over it. But you should be posting 5 good things a week, 5 things that people want to engage with. Pictures of kids, pictures of animals are like a freebie on this. I post a picture of my infant, boom, that's engagement. And then one of these items a week should be about real estate. And so how that works in practice is, let me tell you exactly what I do. Monday, I call it Magic Monday. That's when I will, once I did a literal magic trick on camera and just posted it to my social media. But where you do something fun or goofy, like asking silly questions is okay. Like, you know, if you were trapped with a celebrity on an exploding plane, who would you pick or whatever? Like something fun that people are like, oh, that's goofy. Ah, so silly. I should say, this is what I do. So people are like, oh, Cavan's such a goofy guy. Tuesday is TED Talk Tuesday. That's when I'll talk about something I've been thinking about. And so, you know, like, hey, look at this negotiation scene in the office. This is crazy. That's a little close to work, but it's okay. Or, hey, I have a strong opinion about Dungeons and Dragons, which I always do. Most people don't care about D&D, but there it is. Wednesday is Work Wednesday. That's where you sneakily reference real estate. You can, if you want, say, I'm a realtor. Yeah, check out my listing. Yeah, that's fine. People scroll past that crap. Do we need to leave? Jasmine's here. Bye, Jasmine. Well, Jasmine's going to be killed. I would like her computer, but someone else can have her drink, and that looks like lotion. And then, so the work reference can also be like, hey, I was at the brokerage today, and I was talking to this other guy, and like that can be the work reference. Just somewhere like, oh yeah, Stacy's a realtor. Okay, these are my home run ones. Thanks Thursday or Thanksgiving Thursday. You just say something you're grateful for. Like, oh, this week I'm sure grateful for my dumb little car or whatever. Or if you can be grateful for something a person did for you, that's even better. Like, oh, my uncle helped me out so much this week. I think he's great. And then Friday is Friends and Family Friday. There you go. Oh my gosh. Freaky Friday, also good. So if you can trade bodies with someone, that's ideal. If you're not able to do that, then just say, this is my friend Bob, or this is a great time. Other business owners friggin' love it when you pump up their business. So you're like, this is Sally. She has a business selling beaded necklaces, and I think she's great. Check out Sally, because that doesn't annoy people as much so long as it doesn't come off as fake. All of this should be sincere. If you're ever, again, people can smell fakeness. So that's how I remind myself to post every day. Please don't check my Facebook profile. I'm very inconsistent about this, but that's the idea. One real estate thing a week, assuming you're posting 5 compelling things every week. So, no, definitely not. That's how you get yourself blocked. Yeah, and you're in the industry. Imagine how the humans feel. Yeah. Yeah, I'm most comfortable on Facebook, but this concept works anywhere. I don't believe people are getting business off TikTok, but some realtors like, oh, I made $1 million off TikTok. I'm like, really? So ask them about it. But for me, this is Facebook and then Instagram, and wherever you are. I haven't really broken into Blue Sky yet. I find it confusing. I don't know. Um, yeah, that's it. That's all that's going to be said about Blue Sky today. So there is a much bigger conversation to be had about marketing, but this is the basics. Just make sure you're always putting yourself out there. This is a good, oh, wait, one more thing, 5 by 5. 5 times a week. So every work day, get on social media and react or comment of 5 of your friends' posts or comments or whatever. There's reasoning behind that. It'll be explained in your marketing class. You can, but only if it's really relevant. Like if someone says, I'm looking for a realtor, then you can be one of the 57 realtors who goes, I'm a realtor. And maybe it'll work, I don't know. Cool. So I honestly recommend you guys put that on top of your 10 by 4. If that's too much, do the 10 by 4. It's more important. But the marketing and putting yourself out there consistently is going to make you more money in the long run. Jasmine, let's talk. So what are you doing? What are your daily prospecting activities? How do you feel about them? We're going to. Okay. The brokerage isn't going to give you leads. No, you're going to have to generate them yourself. Yeah. So that really, this is what is going to do that. And so I would recommend just get on your 10 by 4. And then when you make sure you've ranked someone A, B, C. With the C, the goal is get them to be a B. With a B, you might do a script that like offers them, hey, can I offer you a market report? Or you guys don't know how to do home valuations. We already established that. So shoot. Right now, my script would be, hey, do you have any real estate questions I can help you out with? Pretty soon here, you're going to learn how to do home valuations. And I think they're going to teach you how to read the market. And if not, I think there's a class in reading the market. I don't remember. If not, talk to me. It's not that hard. It is a CMA. It's just you have to speak English for the humans because we use a CMA. They don't really cover my ass. And then with your A's, you should be, real estate should come up when you're talking to your A's. There's no reason why it shouldn't. And so that can come up through the Ford dialogue if you just sort of like make sure it does, or you can say, hey, can I offer you a home valuation? Whatever your contribution is, make sure it comes up with the A's. With the B's, either there's a Ford conversation or an offer from you, and C's is almost always going to be a Ford conversation. Does that give you enough to go on? Okay, have you guys talked about prospecting and time blocking? Actually, I'm burning through my time, so never mind. Do that. Do that. Because I know you were feeling anxiety about what to do. Does this give direction? Like, I don't know. Okay. If you get confused, call the number that you can't see anymore. Yeah, I might not answer for the rest of this week. I'm sorry, but I'm on vacation. I will. But then after that, hit me up. And until then, just walk around the office looking sad and someone will help you. I didn't actually catch your name. I'm sorry. Dawson? Okay. What are we doing for prospecting and how's it going? Yeah. If you're getting through the 10 by 4, that doesn't take all day, not even close. And so the next thing I would do is business building. And so you do that through Hunter, like getting your website stuff and marketing going, or you could start doing the social media stuff, which doesn't take terribly long. But there's that is also a very big question. But essentially, you do your prospecting. It's never wrong to do more prospecting, incidentally, but that's not great advice. So the rest of your day should be committed to business building, making yourself better, like going to training. Oh no, wait. Oh, I have a better way to answer this. Okay. Okay. I'm very proud of this. This is a Cavan original. You're going to say that's from 7 Habits. No, it's not. Like it literally isn't. It's sort of a variation. Whoop. Whoop. Okay, so we have loud and quiet. self and others. These don't make a ton of sense, but this is how I think about it, okay? Leave me alone. This is the 4 quadrants of doing your job. There's a hidden 5th quadrant of crap that you just have to deal with. But here is, okay. With the exception of stuff that you just have to do, which only you can really decide what that is, everything you do should be in one of these categories. And so prospecting is when you are talking to potential clients one-on-one. Marketing is when you're shouting to a large number of people. This is probably through Facebook, through social media interaction. Once you have a little money in your war chest, writing and producing ads is going to be worth your time, which Command makes very easy. Training is exactly what it sounds like. That's what you're doing right now. You should always be thinking about training. Like you're never done. You're never the perfect agent unless you're Clay Winder. And then client services is you need to do what your client, like go on showings, write contracts, do the stuff your clients need you to do. Your workday should be packed with something that fits into one of these quadrants at all times. Again, with the tiniest section of what I'm going to call just crap. Like you've got to go to the dentist, right? But that's not, you're not doing your job when you're going to the dentist. It's just something you have to do. Do you understand the distinction? So if you are doing one of these 4 things, you are working. If you are not, you are not working. If you're not doing these things, you are unemployed. I do think they actually fall in a priority, although I'm open to, I think there's room for disagreement on this. I think client services, if you're not doing your job with your existing stable of clients, you're not going to be a realtor for very long. Then here's where it gets a little arguable, but I would say prospecting trumps marketing. But it kind of depends what phase your business is in. And then training is if you are satisfied with where you've gotten with these other things. And so if you need to go on showings or stage a house or write a contract, obviously that's your top priority. Then at your phase in your careers, if you haven't done your 10x4, if there's something left to be done on that for the day, that's your next priority. If you've done that, start getting your social media, your brand kit, whatever marketing strategy you're working on, get that running. If that's running, get some training. I usually use this to plan my week. I don't do it as a moment by moment, what should I do? That's what time blocking's for. And you'll learn about that in a different class. Or maybe you already have, I don't know. I know you haven't, because this is your first class.
Time blocking?
Yeah. Well, boo, ooh, hoity-toity, 20 years in sales here. But no, that's, yeah, so time blocking, that's actually where you're looking at these is when you're blocking out your time, not really, what should I do next? You should try and avoid being in a situation where you're asking what you do next, and you do that by planning, which I'm afraid is beyond the scope of today. Did that help? Dawson. Yeah. Okay. Then I also don't know your name next to Dawson. Oh, you were just sitting somewhere else. I do know your name. This is why when you talk to me next week and we're in the brokers, I won't remember who you are. I'm very positionally minded. So I'll draw an arrow.
Okay.
So what are you doing? How's it going?
Friends, it's a member.
Uh-huh.
And I honestly never thought about telling them, but we ended up visiting the office. I am in a team with Bernie and Daniel.
Oh, okay. I like them a lot.
I decided that. And then we were sitting and he said, well, let's sell the house and buy another one. And I was like, what? So, okay, I have elderly parents myself. So I know that I wouldn't like anyone like take advantage of
course.
them, right? So I have a lot of that like fight in my head. But honestly, what would be like the best approach, because I know their children. I actually recently met them and they just love me. And I'm like, who do I talk to first? Because I wish someone would tell me, hey, I want to help your parents. or
Oh, I see. Okay.
I
So
don't know where to start.
we're trying to set the kids at ease, right? Okay. Is this your first transaction?
Yeah.
Um, I would bring Ben or Courtney with you. Um, because I mean, I don't know you, but just based on the question, I assume that you do have a high emotional priority that you want to take care of these people. And that will, of course, show through naturally. Where the kids might, see you later, Dawson. Where the kids might, by the way, it is well over time. Anyone who wants to leave is absolutely welcome. I won't be hurt. I want to go home too, because I'm going to go on a Valentine's date with my wife, but we're going to wrap this up. You're all going to be taken care of. The where they might doubt you is the lack of experience. Both Ben and Courtney are fantastic. I think Ben's doing more commercial stuff, right? So it'd probably be Courtney. Okay. So honestly, I'd get Courtney to come with you. And if for some reason she refuses, then she can give you advice because that would confuse me. That way they know that like you're the point that you'll be very kind and you'll take care of them, but also you've got this very experienced agent behind you so that they know that you'll be making good decisions. Also generally true of all of you. Something I was uncomfortable selling myself on is I literally wasn't a good agent when I started. Nobody is. And lean heavily on having someone at the brokerage help you. Even if you're not on a team, there's lots of agents who are happy to mentor you. I'm will do what I can. And there are way better agents than me who will help you. So, did that answer your question? Okay, is the prospecting going okay? I assume Ben and Courtney have you doing some kind of regimen. Okay.
Same thing, and that's why I chose that path.
Yeah.
Because their experience is my experience.
Yeah, exactly.
But,
Yeah.
and then figure out
Great. Okay. Well, I'm glad to hear it, Erica. Connor, let's talk. How's it going? What are you doing? Great. And you feel good about it? Then if you're okay with that, I'm just going to move on. Yeah. That's a good question. The Red Book is really good, although it's a little dated. They talk about faxing, which I think is very funny. But in terms of how to structure your business, actually, I read the MREA when I very first started, before I had made a single phone call, and I found it inscrutable. Now that I have some experience under my butt, I like the MREA. So for a book to start sales with, I don't know if I would go to the MREA. There's one I like called Selling with Soul, which is how to not be fakey. I really did like 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Atomic Habits is a really good one. I'm just rattling them off. You asked me for a favorite, and that's difficult for me. Okay, so one that was transformative for me, that if I had to pick a favorite, I would pick this one. It's not a book about sales. It's The Subtle Art of Not Giving a, yeah. That one was probably of the books I've read the most transformative, as it helped me sort of reorganize how, it is not spelled, just to be clear. I think maybe on some covers they do like stars. I did the audiobook, so I'm not sure. Oh, the you. Okay, perfect. That one is more of a mindset book, but I loved it. I loved it. It helped me quite a lot. The Subtle Art of Not Giving an F asterisk CK. Yeah, but 7 Habits is very good. The one I'm reading right now is Essentialism. I don't have an opinion of it yet, but so far so good. And then the MREA, I do honestly recommend. Okay, then we go over to Cesar.
Kind of in the same position.
Mm-hmm. 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 Yeah. Yeah, so the teams are, they're structured very differently, but in general, a team is when you have an agent who gets successful to the point that they have more referrals than they can handle. And so they start bringing on teammates to help them handle those referrals. However, I'm not aware of any team that just gives you referrals. They all expect you to be doing your prospecting, bringing in your own clients. In general, you're going to split with your team half and half on your commissions. And then in general, they're going to give you some amount of leads that varies heavily by team. And then they're going to probably give you trainings. Yeah, and so what I would say about teams, if you come to team meeting, you can see the teams who are performing well on it's one of the slides they do. And then I would just say, hey, who's in charge of the red sign, or who's in charge of the Peter Morkel team? The hint's right in the name on that one, actually. And then go talk to that person and say, hey, I might be interested in the team. There's two things I want to pitch that not necessarily talk you out of a team. I am aggressively neutral on teams. I think there's some things they're great for, and I mean, I just left a team, so. No, heck no. The systems they put in place were nice, and I liked them, but I realized I could do them myself for cheaper. So if you're willing to be your own team leader, that is what I would recommend. But especially when you're starting, it is a good way, if you don't know what to do, a team has an established system. They're like, here, do this. Half your commission. Yeah. And it's not always half, but in general. There's two things that I'm trying to get started, but I can't make any promises until March. So I guess we could set up a thing, but I've started, there's the Solo Agent Club, which if you're not on a team, I'd recommend. All of you are technically on the productivity coaching team, question mark?
Yeah, for now.
Okay.
That's the thing. I think I did join. Is that a team? Like,
No,
that's okay.
not, yeah. So yeah, I think by the brokerage definition that counts as a team, but for the purposes of what we're talking about, no, they're not.
Right. So yeah, I'm a part of that, but
That's a one, not a sideways cowboy.
and so with that, because I know, don't they take 50% of your commission as well for the first year, the first transaction? With that, if you join, can you join a team in this time period, or?
That's an Angie question. I'm not sure.
That's where I was.
Okay. Yeah, they've got ISAs, yeah. Yeah, Red Sign does give you quite a few leads, but every team expects you doing your own prospecting. So two things that I'm, no, but yeah, as you're getting to the end of boot camp, what you can do is you can approach team leaders and say, I want to join your team. I think so. I don't know how that works. It's changed a lot since I joined. So. Yeah, and that makes sense. Generally, from the team's perspective, they are spending an initial investment on you because they're paying for your marketing and and so they do want to make sure you can have output. It never hurts to talk to a team leader. You could talk to a team leader at team meeting next week. And I honestly recommend it. The teams here have very different cultures. And so getting into the wrong one could be a mistake, would be a mistake. If you are like myself and the things you crave from a team are like, I want to work with people and meet and go, yeah, bro, and bump chests and hit a gong. There are possibly teams that do that, but I want to pitch that you don't necessarily need a team for those things. And so something that I've started with the solo agent club, the problem is in February, I'm so busy that I'm just not going to be there. So starting in March, um, the accountability meetings, we already started one up. There's 2 of us in there right now. So it's a party. On Mondays at 1 o'clock, we've been grabbing a conference room. If that interests you, then text me on or before Monday, March 4th. This is for an accountability. So we get together, we talk about our weeks, we set goals, and then we talk about how we did on goals for the previous week. I found this tremendously helpful and very cheap. And then a thing I did for a while that kind of fell apart in 2021 just because we lost attendance with script practices. I would love to do that again, where you do your listing presentation for a hostile person, and then it sort of lets you iron out your script so that when you're actually playing with live ammo, you know what you're saying. Yes. I think it would be fine if team members came. I think it helps all of us. So yeah, you're welcome. Script practice is not happening in any sense. I was planning to get it going in March. So if that is also something that interests you, let me know. And it'll probably be on Friday, but that's negotiable, and it'll be at o'clock. Probably earlier. People like to finish early on Friday, and I'm no exception. So if that's what you want out of a team, save your money and set it up cheaper. But if you talk to a team member, you're excited about the culture, you're excited about their offer, then by all means, there are people who make a ton more money than I do on teams. So it definitely works out for some folks. I think I'm just more of an outdoor cat. So I'm done. And I want to leave within 4 minutes. Is there anything that you're hairing out your hair? Why didn't he talk about this? Okay, then, go ahead and if you want, text me your full name, and then Connor, I saw your text. I check my phone regularly while teaching. But yeah, I mean, I like talking about all this crap. Yeah. Oh, let's do one thing. Give me some evaluations. I'm going to do this one so carefully. This is where you help me. Give me an evaluation. Give me the top marks you're allowed to. Okay, I'm going to go so carefully. That's a U. That help? Oh, I'm so scared. That's a V. All right. All right. Go there and let's all evaluate me. If I 75 5 ranked evaluations in a year, then I'm allowed to go for their approved instructor status, which I'd like to, because then I can wander around teaching classes, which sounds really fun to me. I want to make sure I just gave you the correct address. Perfect. So you'll notice my name is not on the list. Yeah, the one negotiate offers, yeah? So your region is Utah. It was in person. The name of the course was Ignite 18. Was that the answer? Oh, those are in fun order, aren't they? And then the instructor name is not on the list. It's right at the bottom. And then, I'll rewrite my name for you. Oh, not in dropdown. And you do need to spell my name right, or I won't get the evaluation. So even if you want to say something mean about me, you have to spell my name right. So if you're giving me 5 stars, this is how to spell my name. Yeah, Cavan helps. If you're giving me a non-5-star rating, it's Calvin Phelps. That's too close. My name is Joshua Barrett. There, that's my name if you don't think I'm a 5-star teacher. Take that, microphone. Cool. I'm gonna leave.